Dr. David Stovall. He's from the University of Illinois at Chicago.
Thanks again, y'all. Just something real quick. I just want to shout out for Lawndale Social Justice News. Thank y'all for coming. And Ozzy, if you tape and I curse, just cut that one out and make this on the website. Just the notion around some of the things that I think you all, as rank and file members of CORE, should be thinking about as you transition and as you have transitioned into leadership and then as you move forward. Because now there's been a progressive victory won, right? So in no place in the country before you all did a progressive union win an election to actually run the issues and concerns of a democratically elected group of folks who are now standing for justice for families and everyday folks. Now, there's some duties and responsibilities in that, and I think we have to pay close attention to what is coming up next, right? Another huge victory that, of course, we don't get in the mainstream media is when you sued CPS and won, right? Around the firings of teachers. Now, of course, CPS is going to appeal it, but in the same light, you won, right? It's not just to claim that as an idle victory, but to actually claim that in the space of understanding that there's a lot more work to do. Because now that you occupy the office of the Chicago Teachers Union, now you have to realize what it means to be next door to the behemoth, right? Next to CPS, because the next thing that they do is they contact you and they always want to do what? Cut a deal. And this is what you're going to have. This is what you're going to have to do over the next 4 years. You will have to resist every time CPS is trying to cut a deal, right? And they do it in very subtle ways, right? And then they do it in overt ways. And I think there's a couple of things that you all can pay attention to and do as rank and file members of CORE. One thing, maintain your commitment to students and families. Now that sounds generic, right? But what that really means is the people who made sure that you all got into those spaces, that Karen, Al, and Jackson Potter are now in the spaces that they're in, came from everyday parents, students, and teachers. Maintain that commitment, right? Do not turn your backs on them, right? A second thing, support for teachers in years 1 through 3. Because this is what we always know. We get this constant rhetoric around folks staying in the teaching force for 3 years and then seeing what a mess hole that they're in, and then they bounce. What we can do, and I say this as somebody who teaches at a college of education, because unfortunately some colleges of education still teach like we're in 1870, right? So this whole notion around really supporting you all in the work that you do is supporting those teachers and institutionalizing that support for those teachers in years 1 through 3, because we know if a teacher stays past year 3, there's an 8% chance that they'll stay for years 6 through 8, right? So we want to be clear about that type of support. The third thing, continue to call out the corporate neoliberal structures that continue to limit your power, right? So continue to call out the Renaissance Schools Fund. Continue to call out, all these folks who now say that they have this new solution towards education, whether it be AUSL, whether it be KIP, whether it be any type of machination that's actually claiming that they have something new to assert what you all have actually done and resist that. And actually put forward to the parents and families that support you what is actually happening to them. Because this is what happens to us. They say, well, your school has been terrible for 30 years, we have something new. What they don't tell you is that something new you might not have access to. In that something new, 80% of the teachers who were there originally will probably be fired. Right? So really thinking about this process and being clear about this. The fourth and the last thing, continue to pressure the legislature around maintaining your ability to stand for students and families. So this whole thing, we see this thing around performance counts, right? And performance counts, what that really means is, and this is why I see it, so I really like the term administrative euthanasia. Let's kick it up a notch. Let's call it administrative genocide. Wow. Right? I want to be clear about it, right? Because this is what we know. If a young person gets kicked out by 10th grade, there's an 80% chance that they'll be in contact with law enforcement 6 weeks after they've been kicked out, right? And that's not University of Illinois research data. That's the data from the Chicago Police Department. So you know it's high, right? So this whole notion around, if we know those things to be true, then how do we make sure that these issues and policies like performance counts do not get pushed forward because it actually runs antithetical to what you all are actually doing in your classrooms with students and with families, right? And it has to be clear around how you stand against that. So your students count measure is clear, and it's one that's putting the students first, and it's one that's actually looking at changes over time instead of changes at a high-stakes test that really don't test their aptitude, right? According to the testing company, it only tests how well they take a test, right? So what you have to do is resist the lobbyists who work for ETS and ACT and a college board who lobby state legislators around giving a test in the particular district, because it actually runs against what they're saying about tests. So the students count issue is critically important. This performance counts is garbage. And every time you should say that out loud. This is garbage, right? And that actually puts you forward around how to resist it, right? So I'll end with this statement. As you all move forward today, think about those challenges and how those challenges will continue to hit the ground for the purpose of the young folks that you work with in your classroom and the families that support you both. Thank you.